Now, Finola mentioned coercive control regarding some of the women who are now being repatriated. Whether or not that was the case in some situations, I don't know. What I do know, though, is that domestic violence is a genuine and serious problem, one of the biggest we face in this country. It is a black eye on our society. Every week, one woman is murdered right here in this nation by her current or former partner. 1 in 3 women have experienced physical violence by the age of 15. I can assure you it is much more common than you think, yet stopping it has proven an impossible task so far. Think about the high-profile, heartbreaking cases we've seen recently. They are just the tip of the iceberg. We now have a new domestic violence commissioner, Micaela Cronin. It's a new position, but you could almost call it a poisoned chalice. No one has been able to even make a dent in this problem so far. Advocacy groups say Labor has not committed enough money to this, that $1 billion a year is needed. The government has committed $1.7 billion over 6 years. Commissioner Micaela Cronin, thank you so much for your time. First of all, do you have enough money to make a difference here?
Hello, Erin. It's very good to be here with you. Look, I think that you're right. The level of investment is important, but what's, I think, really encouraging about the space that we're in at the moment is with the launch of the new National Action Plan, there is a commitment to a coordinated, collaborative approach to ending, as you described it, the epidemic of violence against women and children that we have in this country at the moment. And coordination and collaboration, alignment of resources, getting everybody in society behind what we need to do to end this pandemic is actually where we need to start.
So how does that actually work? And I would imagine that most people, I guess every single person except for perpetrators of domestic violence, would be behind stopping it. So what's stopped us stopping it, if that makes sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really complex problem that requires change on so many different fronts. It's we know that, based on the research, we know that gender inequality is a root driver of violence against women and children. We need to be addressing issues of housing. We need services to be available to anyone who experiences domestic, family or sexual violence. We need the police to be adequately trained and understand and supported to respond effectively. The police are seeing about 5,000, they're responding to about 5,000 cases of domestic and family violence a week. It's really significant levels, and we need to start. One of the things that I think is really encouraging with the plan is that it looks holistically at what we need to do about prevention at the root causes of violence against women and children. What do we do about early intervention, intervening early when things are happening? How do we respond effectively when it's already happened? But then there's a real elevation in this plan around helping people to heal, because when you can heal from violence really properly, then it helps stop the cycle, the generational cycle of violence.
One of the things that really, one of the main contributors potentially to this is that it is so complex, particularly when, say, the victim, who is generally a female, there are male victims, of course, as well, she may think that she is in love with this perpetrator. She may think she has no other option. The police might come and she'll say, no, nothing happened. How do you overcome those issues and those struggles that are so personal to someone? And once, I guess, whilst they're in that situation, they can't see outside that there is help or that potentially the situation is wrong. How do you overcome that? It's so personal.
Absolutely it is. It's a really good point, Erin. My first job as a social worker a long time ago was working in a women's refuge referral service, so the statewide telephone service. And I remember talking to countless women who had over a long period of time believed what the perpetrator was telling them, that they had become isolated from family and friends. They didn't have independent control of their income. They actually often became too ashamed to ask for help. And that's why the conversation we're having today about coercive control is so important, that people understand that they don't ask the question, why didn't she leave? That what we are asking as a society is, why is he behaving that way? How do we hold perpetrators accountable?
I'm so glad you said that, because I think that is my least favourite question in the world. Why didn't she leave? I think it is so naive. You're exactly right. Why does he do it is the question. Coercive control is a really tough one, and there is opposition to these new laws in that there is the potential for them to be weaponised. How do we ensure that we have the best possible means of protecting victims, but if in the wrong hands, it's not used as a weapon?
Yeah, absolutely. There is always a risk of that. And that's why it is so important, and a really key role of the Commission is to amplify the voices of victim survivors, the women and children, the people who have experienced domestic, family and sexual violence. What was your experience? What was helpful? What were the things that actually happened when you were when you reached out for help that were not helpful? How do we ensure that police are adequately trained so that they understand and can appropriately assess situations and respond?
I opened this chat talking about how difficult your job is going to be and our complete lack of success in this area thus far, but I genuinely hope that you are the difference here, and yeah, I really do. So thank you so much. It's such an important job.
Thank you very much, Erin. I feel very privileged.